Panamanian rider Roberto Carlos González leads the mountains classification after the first stage of the Giro di Sardegna, which has gotten off to a great start. And we kick off these 10 minutes with our 1-minute individual time trial and a roundup of the biggest stories in the world of cycling today, February 25th. And we start with some good news. Panamanian rider Roberto Carlos González, his country's road champion, was in the breakaway. He's picked up enough points in the mountains classification to claim the jersey on this opening stage of the Giro di Sardegna in Italy. We also have results from the Tour of Rwanda, with Matisse de Klerk taking victory on stage 4, where 10th place went to a Costa Rican rider from the Movistar team. Shall we take a look? So let's begin with the standings from the Tour of Rwanda. With that win for the Belgian rider Matisse de Klerk ahead of Moritz Kretschny. The German rider is now the overall leader of the race with Mauro Cultis in third, while 2 Brazilians move into the top 10. And the same goes for the Costa Rican rider from the Movistar team, who is now 10th overall. That's Sebastian Castro racing with Movistar Academy. Meanwhile, the 2 Brazilians are Enrique da Silva from Localizameio and Enrique Ribeiro from the Saudal team. We should also tell you that today saw the first stage of the Giro di Sardegna finishing in Bosa after 190 kilometers. Panamanian rider Roberto Carlos González from the Solution Tech Nipmo Rally team made it into the breakaway. And he earned enough points to take the Mountains leader's jersey, which he'll wear tomorrow on stage 2. At the finish, it came down to a very tight sprint where Filippo Sana was beaten by Nicolo Garibo of Nipmo. The young rider claimed his first win at UCI level, outkicking Sana from the Saudal team to seal a big victory on this opening stage of the Giro di Sardegna. Third place went to Spain's Urco Berardi, who fought hard but ultimately couldn't come around his breakaway companions. He sits third overall thanks to the time bonuses. So tomorrow's leader will be Italy's Nicolo Garibo, with Filippo Sana second at 4 seconds and Urco Berardi at 6 seconds. We'll be keeping a close eye on the Latin American presence in this race. There are 6 riders from Central and North America, including Mexico's Prieto. There are also 3 Panamanians in the field and 2 Colombians racing from South America as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how they develop over the coming days in this UCI 2.1 race. Now we move on to other news, with the Spring Classics getting underway this first weekend, starting with Omloop Het Nieuwsblad in Belgium. Then Corne Brussels Corne and Les Sam in 3 races in all. A really interesting triptych where we'll get to see Wout van Aert again after his ankle injury. After the cyclocross season, he's returning to road racing, and he'll do so by riding 2 of these 3 races running from this weekend into the start of next week. Mathieu van der Poel has also confirmed his participation. He too joins the road season after winning practically everything in cyclocross. We'll also have Latin American representation there with Orluis Aular for Movistar and Macias. The Mexican rider from Burgos Perpelet is expected to line up for Omloop Het Nieuwsblad alongside Uruguay's Eric Fagundes, also for Burgos as we mentioned. So we'll be watching closely to see how these races unfold, where the Belgians and the Dutch naturally are the main favorites in this kind of competition. One-day races with lots of short climbs and obstacles on the route, very attractive but also very punishing. On another note, the rider Milan Touzé has been transferred from Oman to France. He had suffered a crash on stage 4 of the Tour of Oman. He sustained spinal injuries and an intestinal perforation that required surgery on site, and then he had to undergo another operation. The French rider from the Cofidis team has now been repatriated to France, where he will continue his recovery. For now, he remains in hospital. From here, doctors say the process could stretch to as long as 8 months. And it will require every necessary precaution. Precautions that must be taken before deciding whether he can continue as a professional cyclist given the number and severity of his injuries. The rider suffered that crash on stage 4 on February 10th. 15 days have passed during which he was hospitalized in Muscat, the capital of Oman, and from there he has begun his recovery. And the safety debate continues. Has it flared up again? There has been criticism over what happened in one of the sprints at the Tour of Andalusia, where a speed reduction device was placed just 50 meters from the finish line. And that has triggered reactions from some riders who say that while people look for solutions to reduce risk, they talk about bike geometry, wheels, protective vests, and so on. But isn't the logical thing to do to make the routes much safer for riders? That's what Matteo Moschetti said. We also have news related to doping cases compiled by the Movement for Clean Cycling, which detected in 2025 a total of 20 cases across all professional groups. And that marks a significant drop in the number of annual cases. Since 2022, the numbers have been falling from 29 cases down to 20 in 2025, and that makes them very optimistic. The Movement for Clean Cycling says it will keep fighting against the scourge of doping. Cycling is below sports like athletics, weightlifting, or even tennis in the number of reported cases. And despite that, it remains one of the most followed and closely watched sports in these terms, precisely because of what happened in previous years. But the Movement for Clean Cycling is pleased that testing is increasing and that there is more oversight. And they insist we must not let up in continuing this work and these controls. So with all that said, we'll be following the second stage of the Giro di Sardegna very closely, which takes place tomorrow, and also the next stage of the Tour of Rwanda, with Latin American riders represented there as well, including Cisneros, who is racing with Saudal's development team in that competition. And all eyes on how the different teams will shape up heading into this weekend's showdowns, as the Northern European Spring Classics begin, especially in Belgium, France, and the Netherlands. So all that's left is to invite you to join us out on the bike. I'm Iñaki Berrueta.